welcome our beloved viewers to RTD's News English Edition. As usual, we'll present to you the latest and major top highlights. The head of state presides over the first Council of Ministers of the year of 2023. And on the international scene, the United Kingdom will put satellites into orbit from its territory at first. Those were the major and top highlights. Welcome back to our newsroom, our beloved viewers. Under the chairmanship of His Excellency Mr. Ismail Umar Agelle, President of the Republic, Head of Government, was held this Tuesday, January 10th, 2023, the first session of the Council of Ministers. Let's listen.
Rahman Rahim, sous la présidence du chef de l'État, Son Excellence, M. Ismail Omar Guelleh.
He made a presentation on the National Solidarity Week 2023 under the theme Our Social Policy between Shock Mitigation and Resilience Institute at the initiative of the President of the Republic. The National Solidarity Week is an opportunity for the government to inform and sensitize the public on the multiple interventions and social programs of the ministry. It is also a privileged opportunity for the government to popularize the strategic priorities, notably the National Social Protection Strategy 2018-2022, and more globally the 2035 vision of the Republic of Djibouti, with a view to ensuring a decent standards of living for all and leaving no one behind. The Ministry of Social Affairs Solidarity is continually investing in a social protection base that allows Djiboutians to be in good health, to continue their studies, to have the necessary opportunities to increase their productivity, and to progressively lift themselves out of poverty. In order to achieve these objectives, the ministry has set up 13 social counters in the various districts of the city of Djibouti and in the interior regions. The mission of these social counters is to welcome, listen, and collect the needs of the population through the use of social register, a biometric identification and registration system that ensures the socio-economic monitoring of the population covered by the ministry. This ambition is also illustrated through the Azeri program, social assistance to students from the interior regions, the training offered to young people and women, as well as the cash transfer programs with the microfinance institutions and income-generating activities. These opportunities are consolidated by access to infrastructure and basic social services for vulnerable households living in rural areas in order to improve their living conditions and those of their children, in particular through the social intervention carried out by the ministry's implementing agency in rural areas, namely ADDS. The ministry also promotes community-driven development, which consists of giving communities the power to control the resources related to their development. These tools have proven to be major assets in a social context marked by multiple exogenous crises, including the COVID-19 pandemic, food prices, inflation in 2022 due to the war in Ukraine, locust invasion, floods, and drought caused by the climate change. The National Solidarity Week is a week of retrospection that allows us to see the relevance and efficiency of the different social programs carried out in order to enrich our project and better respond to the expectations of the vulnerable population. The Minister of Health made a presentation on the national immunization campaign against COVID-19. He indicated that in the absence of an effective cure for COVID-19, vaccination is the best way to protect against COVID-19. He said that his department has put in place an enhanced strategy against COVID-19. In this regard, he emphasized that the proximity mechanisms cover the whole countries, which highly committed mobilizers. These intensifications of the vaccination campaigns aim to fully vaccinate 70% of the target population against the coronavirus. Indeed, more than 338,509 people have received at least one dose of vaccines against COVID-19 since the launch of immunizations. This represents a coverage rate of 62.97% of more than half of the target populations. 65% of whom are men and 35% are women. In addition, 318,144 people are fully immunized, a coverage rate of 59.18%, more than a third of the target population. 20,365 people are partially immunized. The coverage rate is 3.79%. He said that in addition to intensifying the communication and awareness campaign through our community approach, the Ministry of Health is also working to bring vaccination closer to the population by increasing the number of vaccine buses and mobile teams. Finally, he said that efforts are continuing to increase the population support for vaccination in order to reach a greater proportion of our fellow citizens, thanks to the support of all the staffs involved in vaccinations and our technical financial partners. The following texts were examined and approved. The Ministry of Justice and the Penitentiary Affairs in charges of human rights had the first issue a draft order on the organizations of the initial training of judicial auditors at the National School of Judicial Studies. The draft decree specifies the training offers for judicial auditors, future magistrates, the objective of the training, the duration, as well as the evaluations and validation modalities. The auditor receive an initial training comprising the theoretically and practical courses of 18 months internship module. The training of judicial auditor aims at learning the professional techniques of the magistrate and the transversal knowledge of his institutional, human, and social environment. The second question is draft orders on the organizations of the training of trainee clerks at the National School of Judicial Studies. The draft orders concern the training offered for trainee clerks. The objective of the training it is organizations and duration, as well as the modalities of evaluations and validation of the training. The training clerks receive a professional training which allows them to acquire and develop the skills necessary for the functions of clerk. The Minister of Economy and Finance in charge of industry, the issue 3, draft order on the allocations of COVID-19 resources made available for the to the partial credit guarantee fund. The purpose of this draft order is to allocate COVID-19 resources to the credit guarantee fund. Indeed, a sum of 500 million Djibouti franc was allocated to the Djibouti Partial Credit Guarantee Fund to enable small and medium-sized enterprises to benefit from the fund's guarantee during the period of inactivity due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The draft order also specifies the modalities of use of the guarantee funds for the financing of the working capital needs operation of the Ali Sabir cement factory. Ministry of Higher Education and Research, the first question, draft order on the creation of the state diploma of pharmacy preparers grad license professional by orders number 2015, the Higher Institute of Health Sciences set up the training leading to the delivery of the state diploma of pharmacy preparer. The present draft decree registered the training of pharmacy preparer of the ISSS in the Bachelor Master Doctorate System, LMD. This text specifies the teaching programs and the timetable of the new training, as well as the modalities of the control of knowledge and the validations of credit. The professional license of pharmacy preparers will be delivered from the academic year 2022-2023. The question 5, draft decree granting accreditations and renewal of accreditations of bachelor, professional, bachelor and master degrees course of the Arab Academy for Administrative, Financial and Banking Sciences. The Arab Academy for Administrative, Financial and Banking Sciences is a private institution of higher learning that provides academic training in several fields. The Academy is applying for renewal and accreditations of the courses already provided in accordance with the Decree 2020 11 Pierre Mencher, and of the 19 January 2020, they said accreditations are granted for a period of 2 years for master's and 3 years for bachelor degree.
Now we head to the second part of the Council of Ministers. Let's listen.
La sixième question concerne un projet d'arrêté accordant l'autorisation d'ouvrir, de diriger.
Sixth question is draft a decree granting the authorizations to open and run a private higher education institute entitled the Arab Academy for Administrative, Financial, and Banking Sciences. It is granted to the Arab Academy for Administrative, Financial, and Banking Sciences the authorizations to open a private higher education institutions, named the Arab Academy for Administrative, Financial, and Banking Sciences. And this is in accordance with the provisions of the Article 25 of Decree 2014-121 PR, Ministry of Higher Education. The seventh issue draft order granting the authorizations to open and run a private higher education institute entitled Higher School of Engineering and Management. It is granted the authorizations to open a private higher education institute named École supérieure d'ingénieurs et de gestion. The Ministry of Higher Education and Research grants definitive authorizations to the ESIG, which had a provisional authorization since 2021. The school having fulfilled the conditions of the exercises, and this in accordance with the provisions of the article of Decree number 2014-121 PR, Ministry of Higher Education. The Secretary of State in charge of sports, so the eighth issue draft decree approving and making enforceable the 2023 provisional budget of the Al-Hajj Hassan Guled Abtidon Stadium. The provisional budget of the Al-Hajj Hassan Guled Stadium for the year 2023 is presented in balance in income and expenditure at 47,687,971 own revenue amount to 12,534,000 and are made up of income from the rentals of half to various federations and sports associations, as well as income from the organizations of events within the stadium. The personnel costs amount to more than 29 million and constitute the main expense item. In 2023, the stadium plans to invest for 5.4 million in transport equipment, computer equipment, and offices furniture. The stadium is currently approved by FIFA to host CAF and World Cup qualifying matches. The ninth question draft decree approving and making enforceable the 2023 provisional budget of the National Institute of Sports Training. The provisional budget of the National Sports Training Institute for the year 2023 is presented in balance in revenue and expenditure at 59,135,292. The institute was created in May 2007 by the law on the organizations and promotions of physical and sports activity at implementing decree of 2021 set out its organizations and operation. The provisional revenue is mainly made up of the state subsidies. The investment budget of around 11.1 million is intended in particular for the acquisitions of sports equipment, the acquisitions of transport materials, and the purchase of computer and offices equipment. Communication. The Minister of Foreign Affairs International Cooperation government spokesperson reported on the official visit to Somalia from 28 to 13 December 2022 by the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Gelle, at the invitations of his Somali counterpart, His Excellency Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud. This first visit of the President of the Republic to Mogadishu since the new elections of Mr. Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud to the Somali Supreme Magistracy is part of the permanent and periodic contacts between the leaders of the two brotherly countries. During this visit, the head of state inaugurated the Somali Language Academy. The Minister of Energy in charge of natural resources reported on the meeting on energy deficits and the presentations of options which was held on 4 January 2023 under the leadership of the Prime Minister. The minister first recalled that energy is the sinews of war in the contemporary world and presented in details the various large-scale energy projects in our country, including those being finalized, the construction of the Gubet wind farm with a capacity of 59.6 megawatts, the first renewable energy project in our country which will be operational in the coming months, and those whose work will start shortly, such as the construction project of a solar power plant of Grand Bara of 25 to 30 megawatt by the Emirati group Amia Power, the production of energy from biomass, the project of hydrogen production is by the Australian and American group FFI and CWP Global, or the project of the construction of the geothermal power plant as soon as the work of geothermal exploration Fiale and Galale Koma is finalized. Finally, the minister indicated that the objective is pursued include increasing the productions of electrical energy to meet the energy needs of the population, energy security, diversifications of energy sources, as well as achieving the objective of energy sovereignty.
The President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, expressed his compassion and solidarity to his Senegalese counterpart Mr. Macky Sall following the deadly road accident that claimed the lives of nearly 40 nationals of the country on Sunday night, causing an even greater number of injuries. The people and government of Djibouti join me in expressing their sympathy and friendship to the sister nation of Senegal in the terrible ordeal of this tragedy, wrote President Guelleh in the telegram of condolence sent yesterday to Mr. Macky Sall. There is no doubt that under your enlightened leadership, your country will quickly overcome this tragedy, the head of state noted in the same document before describing the measures initiated in the wake of this accident as the hallmark of a crisis management culture specific to Senegal and a perfect illustration of its high capacity to carry out reaffirming reforms. May God Almighty spare the sister nation of Senegal from a recurrence of traumatic events, President Ismail Omar Guelleh also implored before reiterating his saddened condolences as well as his compassion and solidarity to Mr. Macky Sall. After the torrential rains that fell in the capital and in the interior regions with the risk of proliferation of insects and mosquitoes, vectors of diseases, the Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Mohamed Ahmed Awale, and Dr. Ahmed Roble Abdillah, Minister of Health, conducted this morning an inspection of the space spray aircraft at the airport of Djibouti to prepare the launch of the space spray campaign throughout the country, started officially today to stop the spreading of parasites and the proliferation of mosquitoes and flies, vectors of disease. After the capital, the plane will go to the interior regions. This initiative of a space spraying campaign to fight against the anti-victual is initiated by the President of the Republic following the torrential rains which touched our country, especially in this period of winter. Concerning the aerial spraying campaign, the Ministry of Health, Dr. Ahmed Roble Abdillah, clarified the joint start of the aerial insecticide spraying activities and the false rumors about the products used. The Ministry of Health said that the insecticide products sprayed by air are manufactured in the United States and have been used for over 10 years in our country, and contrary to the false rumors, no side effects have been observed with the use of these products. The Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Agriculture have assured the Djiboutian population and denied the allegations that these products were toxic. The Ministry of Higher Education and Research, Dr. Nabil Mohammed Ahmed, signed this morning a memorandum of understanding with Hong Kong Aerospace Technology Group and Touch Road International Holdings Group. This memorandum provides the construction of a spaceport launch area for satellite rockets in the region of Oboch. The project involves an investment of nearly $1 billion and places the Republic of Djibouti among the few countries in the world to have spaceports. The choice of Oboch region is justified by a set of geographical advantages particularly favorable to this type of projects. In addition to the spaceport, firing and teasing areas, important logistic infrastructure are planned, especially at the level of the port of Oboch, but also for the road linking it to the spaceport. It also foreseen stations of production of electricity and water. The training and scientific research component is not neglected because the scheme of assembly of the project is BOT, plan, build, operate, train, and transfer.
And with especially want to thank the Minister and Mr. He of Touch Road for giving us this opportunity to have this project in Djibouti. And the Djibouti Spaceport project, I believe, will be a very significant investment in Djibouti, and it will bring new opportunities for science development and technology advancement. And also it will bring a lot of jobs to, in the thousands to Djibouti, including aerospace, supply chain, and also for the launch services. And the launch service itself can also help Djibouti advance in science and technology itself.
In his speech, the Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Nabil Mohammed Ahmed, indicated that this project includes an investment of nearly $1 billion and places the Republic of Djibouti among the few countries in the world that have spaceports. The minister also stated that choosing Obok region for this project stems for a set of geographical advantages that are particularly favorable for this type of project. In the same continuity of the activities of the National Week of Solidarity, a strong delegation led by the Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Mrs. Ulufa Ismail Abdo, composed of the Ministry of City, Urbanism and Housing, Mrs. Amina Abdi Aden, and the Ministry of Youth and Culture, Dr. Hibu Mu'min Asoui, visited the sites of the Integrated Urban Development Project 2 of Layable, executed by ADDS on funding from the French Development Agency. Indeed, the project follows a request made by the community of the neighborhood surrounding the intervention area. In addition to this project executed by ADDS, the overall urban program plans to complete the priority investments by creating a network of public spaces that will connect the neighborhoods and make them more livable, install local public facilities, develop commercial activities, and install community facilities. The main objective of the project are to increase incomes by facilitating access to employment or the creation of income-generating activities to strengthen the capacities of young people in the fields of construction and public works, to improve the supply of basic urban services, and finally to improve mobility. The delegation was able to see the bioclimatic building of the Gendarmerie, which is being finalized, and an asphalt road to facilitate travel and transportation, a biometric community development center of nearly 500 square meters, with a theater space, a sports field, but also shopping center on the boulevard of Asamo. It should be noted that the Director General of ADDS and the representatives of AFD attended the visit of the Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, who was accompanied by her colleagues, both the Minister of Housing, Madam Amina, and the Minister of Youth and Culture, Dr. Hibo. The Minister of Youth and Culture, Dr. Hibo Mumin Asowi, expressed at the outset her satisfaction with the visiting of the various sites that made up this large project. Dr. Hibo praised the wonderful work that has been accomplished, especially the project to build the Community Development Center with its new design, and that the center includes a library for reading and a theater hall in accordance with the demands of youth and the society. Also, the Ministry of Housing in the city, Madam Amina Abdi, indicated the need to advance activities related to the provision of income-generating projects. For her part, the Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Madam Ulufa Ismail Abdo, expressed her satisfaction with the projects implemented for the benefit of the residents of the Layable neighborhood. The Secretary General of the Ministry of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Mrs. Amina Ahmad Warsame, visited this morning the headquarters of the National Union of Djiboutian Women for the launch of the Compound 2 of the PITCH project, namely the Productive Inclusion. The overall objective of this compound is to strengthen the long-term resilience of households receiving cash transfers, including their entrepreneurial capacity and willingness to develop income-generating activities. The productive inclusion actions focus on families living in urban or rural areas. This aim is to gradually accompany the beneficiaries towards the implementation of sustainable income-generating activities through the strengthening of their know-how, coaching, and continued support, but also the establishment of a line of credit with the CEPEC of Djibouti for these future entrepreneurs. In addition to the participation of the Secretary General of MAS, the ceremony was attended by officials such as the General Secretary of the Ministry of Environment, the Director of Honors, as well as the officials from the World Bank and the World Food Program. The Secretary General of the Ministry of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Mrs. Amina Ahmad Warsame, also accompanied by the Secretary General of the Ministry of National Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Mohammed Abdullah Mahyoub, as well as officials from both ministries at the ceremony of the awarding certificates of vocational and technical training at the Industrial and Commercial High School of Djibouti. With the support of the World Food Program of Djibouti and the European Union, The Ministry of Social Affairs in Solidarity has started a project on the sustainable economic empowerment of households, receiving cash transfers through the training of out-of-school youth from these households in promising traders and their support towards financial autonomy through self-employment. More globally, these trainings are part of the government's overall employment policy formulated in the Djibouti Training Vision 2035 to meet the challenge of youth employment. Still in the same context, the Secretary General of MAS, Mrs. Amin Ahmed Warsame, visited the training center of the Protestant and Evangelical Church of Djibouti in the company of the Djibouti resident representative of WFP and church officials. This visit carried out in the framework, the continuation of the activities of the National Week of Solidarity had to goal to meet the students of the professional training. The main objective of the training is renewable energy remains in the assembly. On the sidelines of the first Djibouti-Turkey Investment and Business Forum, the Djiboutian delegation led by the Minister of Economy and Finance in charge of industry, Mr. Ilyas Moussa Dawali, composed of the Minister of Trade and Tourism, Mr. Mohamed Warsamadiri, and the Secretary of State for Investment, Mrs. Safia Mohamed Gadili, and the President of the Chamber of Commerce of Djibouti, Mr. Yusuf Moussa Dawali, the Ambassador of Djibouti in Turkey, Mr. Adan Hussein Abdullahi, and the young startup had a presentation meeting and ways to strengthen the partnership between Djibouti and this institution, which is specialized in supporting startups. Al Barbaka Garage is a center financing startups. This institution, which uses the most of Islamic finance, allows young companies to be trained. The second day of the regional tour of the minister delegate in charge of the decentralization, His Excellency Mr. Qasim Harun Ali, started this Sunday. It's the sub-prefecture of Khor Angar, and face-to-face with the local population that the ministerial delegation took the language. In the framework of technological partnership between Djibouti and China, the ambassador of Djibouti in China, Mr. Abdullahi Miguel, and Chief of Staff General of the Armed Forces, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, received today the Directorate of International Relations of the Officers Hotel Hassan Basuma, a team of the company Hong Kong Aerospace Technology Group specializing in the design, production, and operation of rockets. This audience between the two parties is in line with the vision of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Umar Gelle, in the flagship project of creating a series of platforms for launching satellites and rockets. This platform will allow our country to access a very advanced level of technology, especially in terms of communication, hence the importance of requesting the Djiboutian Army to secure the perimeter of the platform and support the satellite launch project. Once again, the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, reiterated his commitment to the strategic military commitment that unites our two armies. The ceremony ended with the photo of remembrance by the two parties. Still on the national scene, our blood viewers, the radio television of Djibouti closed this morning at its main headquarters a double training on the team of art logistics for the radio technicians and another training on the animation and the radio journalists of the RTD. The double training initiated by the direction took place in the enclosure of the RTD during 2 weeks with the participation of 13 technicians and the tens of journalist animators, organized by the service of the training of the RTD under the supervision of Mrs. Jasmine Mohammed and was disciplined by the professional trainers of the RTD, of which Mr. Mohammed Ahmed, Isa Yusuf Hamadou, and by Mustafa Ibrahim for the animation and journalism part. The direction of the RTD organized these trainings to reinforce the capacities of its professional of the mastery in the comprehension of the various phases of the jobs of animators and the transfers of the data between the networks. It is necessary to underline that these trainings were based essentially on the practice and the third phases of the training organized by the RTD to the profit of its professionals. At the end of the training, certificates were given to all the partners by the persons in charge for the RTD and by the General Director, Mr. Aden Abdi Jama. As part of the Djibouti Zero Waste project, the Mayor of Djibouti, Mr. Saeed Daoud Mohammed, has resumed the removal of wrecks and carcasses of vehicles that are left on the main roads and in garages. This morning, he resumed the work in the communes of Bil'az and more precisely in the sector of the 3rd District in the presence of the Sub-Prefect of the 3rd District, Mrs. Fatuma Ibrahim Ali. This project aims to restore the image of our capital. To succeed in this endeavor, everyone must get involved and roll up their sleeves. The Mayor urged the owners of these vehicles left on the public highway to show civic mindedness by protecting not only the environment, because the wrecks constitute a place for all stray animals, become a garbage dam, but also harm the image of our capital. Shifting gears towards the international scene now, the United Kingdom is about to launch its first satellites from British soil, an operation that it hopes will propel the country among the great international space powers. This is a giant step for the British space industry. Well, by this, our blood viewers, we finally conclude this edition. Thank you for being with us, and make sure to tune in later for more. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you.